Anne, can you tell me about the decision-making process by which NMC decided not to merge?
Yeah, so I said that initially there was a sort of general sort of scepticism or lack of enthusiasm for the notion of the project from the board. So I was quite concerned that I enabled them to form a decision based on fact, really, so that they could weigh up the options and have a genuine response to the proposal. So we identified some key areas that were really, we call them the killer issues for us. One was what the artistic identity of the new organisation would be, and that slightly fed into what the governance of the new organisation would be in terms of how the founder organisations would be represented, and obviously their sort of corner forward. One was a question around how secure the funding of the new organisation would be, and then there was a third regarding staff concerns. We're a very small organisation, much smaller than any of the others, basically 2 members of staff, and I think, again, that's a learning for others. If you're very small, what might be someone else's merge really feels like being taken over and possibly trampled. So that was an area that was really important to look at. And that was partly also came from a context, the fact that we had a much smaller reliance on the Arts Council than any of the other organisations. So that put us in a very different sort of philosophical as well as financial position. We also have large funding. Our administrative costs are funded by the Holst Foundation. So we had not only the security of that going forward, but we also had the responsibility to that sort of legacy that we obviously had to investigate and protect. So through the project working group and the Thrive process, those areas I've mentioned were identified, and I was able to feed back to the board what Sound and Music might look like in those aspects. And then the other thing we identified was Holst would have a view of NMC's future in or outside of this new organisation. So we convened legal advice, and we explored with them areas surrounding how future funding from Holst, could it be ring-fenced for NMC or to fulfil NMC specific artistic purposes? And also, what would happen with the fact that for the last 20 years they've invested lots of money and NMC, unlike the other organisations, owns copyright assets, i.e. our recordings. So what would happen with those in a new organisation? And this was something that was far beyond Mem and Arts, and it was largely a resolution of those issues through our legal advice that we realised that, in effect, the only way we could really protect those within the new organisation would be to set up, in effect, what would be NMC within the new organisation, which was obviously ludicrous. And that was really the point in the decision-making process where we realised that our aims and concerns going forward, it was just impossible for them to be met within a merged organisation, and therefore we took our decision not to.